to chat with y'all for a few minutes. Let me see if this thing will come on. I probably should have got my lights together and stuff before I jumped up on this thing. But let me tell y'all. So I was sitting up here and I was writing. There we go. Got some lights. I was sitting up here. I just got out of a couple meetings and I was writing some notes for my talk tomorrow. And my talk, the topic is purity culture, death to the good girl. And so as I was writing some things out, thinking about a couple things, and I'll probably come back to this topic a few times. One of the things, or some of the questions that I was posing, that I'm going to pose in the room tomorrow, is number one is, what do you think about when you hear the phrase purity culture? So if you guys join me in the chat, make sure you answer the question. Like, I really want to know, what do you think about when you hear the word or phrase, excuse me, purity culture? So I was in a class this weekend. Y'all, I'm in like four classes. It's crazy. But I got it. So I was in a class this weekend and we were having a conversation, and in the midst of the conversation, um a young lady was pretty much, talking about relationships and talking about, oh yeah, I got boogers. I'm so sorry, y'all. Anyways, she was talking about relationships and kind of talking about, how those moments when you're when you're trying to get to know someone and you just so happen to kind of ask, like kind of ask questions and you trying to have a conversation, but the individual who you're talking to is one of those people who like try to um bring, I don't want to say just bring sex into the equation, but maybe they are like, oh my gosh, you're just so beautiful, and they're infatuated, they're caught up in your beauty or whatever have you. And so she was just saying like, the guy was just so into her, but she could not hold space for that, I guess, at that time. And I can get it, because sometimes, like when you're meeting new people, some people, me as a woman, I can only speak from my perception dealing with guys or whatever. But some of the guys, like, they'll always bring it back around to sex. And I've been in the process of learning how to steer the conversation back to wherever it needs to go. But of course, that takes time. Um and a lot of it has to do with you being comfortable in your sexuality, especially as a woman, because so many women have been told to kind of like live in this, and have this perception that they should not be as sexual as they want, or that they have to be almost like a prude, or or you can be sexual but it's during specific times. Y'all, I'm so sorry, y'all, but I know y'all see this booger. It was so disrespectful. I apologize, y'all. But anyway, back to my conversation, because we ain't finna stop this. We ain't finna start over. But one of the things that pretty much happened is a lot of women are somewhere in between, where they are trying to deal with who they want to be and what they desire and what they need. And a lot of women really can't pinpoint those things out. If you say, okay, what do you want, what do you need, what do you desire, like, when they're trying to bring that back and say, well, I want, they can't come up with it, or I need, or I desire. And I know for myself, I remember, not too long ago, one of my sayings was like, the hoes be winning. And I realized over time the hoes win because they know what they want. They know what they want. They know what they don't want, what they're going to put up with. And it's just like with a man, a man will say exactly what they want and what they don't want. Um, and how they want to be desired and different things like that. So I just find it interesting that they can do that, right? I don't want to say I find it interesting, but they are very um gung ho about what it is that they want, and they express themselves. And the thing about it, because a lot of women love to say like, man, men just don't think, they just, they don't do, they da 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 da. But if you knew exactly what you want, a lot of men are here to deliver what you want, but you have to know that. You have to be able to answer those questions. You have to be able to speak for yourself. And so, yeah, it's just, I just think that it's interesting. I apologize with all the pauses because there's a lot going on over here. But I think that it is interesting, to say the least. Um, yeah. Well, y'all, I I got so much to say. And I'm gonna probably come back and come back around to this, because I just been thrown off with text messages and all this other stuff. And I apologize, y'all, because I really want to get deep into it. But if you can, for me, when you think about purity, or purity culture, like, let me know, what do you think about, what comes to mind when you hear that phrase, purity culture? And how do you feel that that has affected you, if it has affected you? Um, because there's so many things, like, y'all, the next video, I think when I come back, I'm going to talk about it from the perception of the church, and um how they address some of those things. I think that's one of the things I'm going to talk about. But I think I'm going to partially do a series, Death to the Good Girl. And it's not that I want her to die at all, but I do want people to understand that it's these ideas of being a good girl, and what that means, that in and of itself, um, plays a major role. And it dictates how a lot of people, um, pretty much how they live their life. And we got to be mindful, because people are not living, because they're trying to work within standards that are just, I think, make believe. I think they were trying to work in standards that most people um, don't truly live when they're utilizing those standards. And not to say that anything's wrong with it altogether, but I think now's the time for people to be who they want to be, and to understand where these concepts and thought processes come from. And so, yeah, I'm gonna dive into this again, y'all, because I know I'm not able to give it as much justice as I want to right now. So I'm probably do a few more videos on this. Um, so we're gonna make it a thing, y'all. All right, so y'all have a good evening. I love y'all. See you.